First question, do you think our laws in the U.S. reflect the will of the populace?
Right. Overall, yes. Um, that said, there's quite a few, especially in tax law and things like that I do not feel like they do. I feel like those reflect more of the will of corporations and powerful business entities in the United States.
All right, second question, do laws reflect social reality?
Again, this is very dependent. Overall, I'd say yes. However, it often depends on the way those laws are enforced, um, especially with police bias and things like that. It can also often, the letter of the law does not always become its intent in many criminal law cases as well as business law.
All right, last question. How do you determine whether an older law is no longer acceptable, and what are some examples?
Man, that's a hard question. Um, I feel like the only way that you could do that is by looking at survey data for one would help, but even then you get some response bias, or disrepresentative, unrepresentative enforcement of the law on demographics that it doesn't really make sense for, um, or if social uh, opinion is very clearly against it, we're moving away from it, at which point the law should probably be changed. Um, that said, it's never clear whether something's clearly against it, because there's always vocal minorities on either side.
Do you have any examples of?
Gay marriage is a really good one. In Iowa, it seems like it's very clear that social opinion is against it. I doubt that's the same in the Bible Belt. Um, so it's difficult to say where social opinion is on any one thing and whether it needs to be changed.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. First question is, do you think our laws in the U.S. reflect the will of the populace?
Yes, I do. I think for the most part, they're free and liberal, like the majority. Not like the liberal stance, but just the free stance. But, like the whole gay marriage thing, I think they overstepped their bounds, and I think that was not an accurate representation of the populace. So,
All right, the second question, do laws reflect social reality?
I think, if anything, social reality is more sophisticated than the law, but the law needs to be a basis and a basic for the basic mind. So, for those that can't comprehend it, we need to have basic law, but in general, society is more sophisticated than the law.
All right, the last question, how do you determine whether an older law is no longer acceptable, and what are some examples?
I would say if like majority of the population thinks it to be okay, and if that's not good enough, then new unbiased research, and I think a big good example of that would be the legalization of marijuana. With all the new research coming out, they know it's not bad. It's not a bad thing, and you have the majority of the populace. So,
To these questions myself regarding the Roman society. So, for the first question, do I think the laws in the Roman society reflect the will of the populace? I don't really think the laws in the Roman society reflected the will of the populace during the beginning part of the Roman society, at least not until the plebeians were given an opportunities to understand the laws and be part of what happens. Before this was allowed, it was only the elite men who had a part of the government and any say in what happened and what went on. Also, the fact that women were not given an opportunity to have a vote or even a voice is another huge reason that I don't think that the will of the populace was actually heard. So for that reason, I'm going to have to say no. The second question, do I think the laws reflect social reality in the Roman society? I do believe that the Roman laws at this time reflected the social reality of everything that was going on in the society. Rome was vastly expanding, and there needed to be an efficient way for them to get the rules out and for everything to be governed. The system that Rome developed worked out really, really well for them, as it allowed them to expand exponentially and also maintained a very functional and thriving system. For the last question, how do you determine whether an older law is no longer acceptable? Well, the Roman society was huge on their ancestors' way of life. They were not a fan at all of changing the laws that their ancestors formed. They believed that you had to follow ancestors' ways, which is why they hardly ever changed any of the rules that they'd come up with. However, as things changed and time went on, they did make adjustments. For example, the plebeians being allowed to enter in to the government and working more with that, and also allowing them to read and understand different laws that were going on. So for that reason, they did change, but however, they were not a huge fan of it whatsoever, and there had to be a vote. So overall, Roman society, I think, is actually really, really similar to how America got started and where we are today. In the beginning, we didn't allow women to vote. You had to be a white male to vote, which is exactly how Roman society was. And then we've adapted our rules as times have gone on, with allowing women to vote, with allowing minorities to vote. Now anyone can vote. So I definitely think we are in a better place than where we were, which I can say the same about the early Roman society compared to where it was during its top. So, all right, that's it.